My name's Paul Corbett. I'm Managing Director of Charles Faram and Company. Charles Faram are one of the major hop merchants in the UK. We've been trading since 1865 and we're dealing with all sorts of breweries, right through from the big breweries right through to the craft breweries who are just setting up. Today we're at Stocks Farm near Suckley. We're on the property of Richard and Alison Capper. Richard and Alison have recently taken over from Richard's father, and what we're doing is we're looking at the hop harvest, seeing what's been going on with the harvest and just catching up with the processes that are happening here on the farm. The varieties grown here vary from Pilgrim, which is the high alpha variety, right through to some of the dwarf hops, the hedgerow hops, Sovereign and First Gold. So there's a wide range of hops on the farm here. The hop harvest is an annual event, and we start the picking late August, early September when the hops are ripe. The harvest usually lasts between 2 and 5 weeks depending on the size of the farm. Most of the farms are finished right now, but some of the farms are still just finishing off, so we've managed to catch a few today just picking the last of the hops. The hop growers' year really starts in sort of February, March time when the soil starts to warm up and we get rid of all those frosts. And basically what the plant will do, it will start to shoot a lot of little shoots coming out of the ground. It's a perennial plant, so it stays in the ground all the time. We don't plant a seed each year. So all those shoots coming through have to be controlled, and we select shoots to grow up a string. The string's applied in March, April time, and it provides a trellis for the hops to grow up. After it starts to grow, it will grow during May and June, about 6 inches a day, so it really puts on a lot of growth and follows the sun round, so it goes clockwise round the strings. Then through the season you'll get a burr stage where the hops start to drop into burr, where the cones start to form, and then after that then they start to mature and ripen, and that's where we get to with our harvest time in September. Well, there are 4 key stages to the hop harvest. The first one is the picking of the hops, basically getting the hops off the trellis into the hop picking machine. The guys will be on the back of the trailers there, chopping the bines down, getting them into the back of the trailer, making sure they're well compacted down and lined up nicely so that they come off on the picking shed really well. So once the hops are loaded into that tractor and trailer, very important to get them to the picking machine as quickly as possible so they can be picked nice and fresh. So then they're hung upside down on that bine track. You've seen how the bine opens up then, and the picking machine then strips the bine for all its leaf and all its cones. And the next stage from there is separating the leaf out from the cones so that we've got no leaf going out to the brewery. They really want them nice and clean and nothing in there that's going to cause any problems for them. The cleaner machine works on 2 operations really. One, to try and clean out the leaf, they use a blower, so the leaf is large and flat and will be blown away, whereas the cone will drop through. And then also on the cascade belts, where the little cones will roll down those belts and the leaves will be taken up and over into the waste. So getting them nice and clean, ready to go on the kiln there. The greatest satisfaction you get is seeing those cones coming through onto the conveyor belt at the bottom and all the leaf and streak going out. Nothing worse for our brewers than having leaf and streak in their bales. So as the hops come off the end of the picking machine, we need to get them dried down to a moisture level that allows them to stay in the bale without rotting. And how we do this is we layer them onto a kiln, and the kiln is then heated up. The fan is very fast, blows off the excess moisture, and then as the hops start to dry, then we slow the fan speed down and warm the hops up. Once they're dry, the experts will come along, give them a rub and get the feel and see exactly how the moisture feels in there. Once they've done that, then they can be put on the cooling floor, and the cooling floor probably for 10 to 12 hours before they're baled. There's a very big change in the hop during this process. On the bine you get a very wet, moist, vegetable-y character coming off when you rub and sniff them. After they've been dried you've got much more of the oils come through on the nose and the aroma, so you get a lot more flavour coming out, and that's where what the brewer is really looking for, that nice aromatic characteristic coming off the hop. Once the hops have been dried and they've cooled down on that cooling floor, it's very important, that cooling floor, because it gives the hops an opportunity to gather all their alpha acids and their oils and make sure that all attaches back to the plant itself. Once they've done that, they're then baled. They're pushed into a baler and pressed into the baler, stitched up with the cloth, and then they go off to stores ready for processing on towards the brewer. The process is very simple. It really hasn't changed an awful lot over the years. In the olden days, they would actually get a guy in those bales and actually walk round and press them down with his feet. So the bales would have been a lot looser and not so pressed as we are now. It's very important when they're pressed to make sure that the lupulin glands, which contain all the goodies there, all the oils and essential flavours in there, that they don't get pressed too much and broken open. So we make sure that the pressure is right on the baler, not to overdo the pressure. Once the bale has been pressed, we then take samples. Every 1 in 10 bale is sampled for alpha and oil analysis, and also for moisture levels, to make sure that the moisture levels are checked so that they don't go mouldy in store. The bale is then sent into Farams. We do more checks on it there just to make sure everything is okay coming off the farm. We also take samples just as a double check for the quality, and then we either pellet or we vacuum pack the hops so that they're ready for the brewer to use in whichever format he needs. We've been working with growers all over the world now for 25 years, looking at different varieties, trying to source new flavours, new tastes to entice the brewer to use these different hops. And I think the fantastic thing about hops from all over the world is we do get these variations in flavour, and they will produce different styles of beers and different flavours in the beers, which will entice us all to try something different at the end of the day when we fancy a quick beer. When I started at Charles Faram 25 years ago, we had 3 different varieties: Challenger, Fuggles and Goldings. We now stock over 120 different varieties from all over the world. We're developing new varieties in every country. We have our own breeding program that gives us all these new flavours, and hopefully there'll be a lot more coming through. It's so fantastic at this time of year to see the hop harvest, just to get the wonderful smells and the aromas that are coming off the farm at these times, and seeing them arrive at Farams, seeing where they've come from, knowing the farms that they've come off. It's really a pleasure to be able to match up those farms to the flavours. Fantastic then to follow that through with the breweries, see the tastes that they're creating in their beers, and just have that whole picture of the story right from the hop in the ground to the flavour in the pint. It really is magnificent.